Welcome to Spiritual Truths with your host, Kerry-Marie. Today, I'm very happy to have with me Tracy Manu from Blossoms. Tracy is talking about forming a connection to yourself. Tracy is a mentor, life coach, and public speaker, along with being a truth seeker. And today, she's going to be talking about her journey and what brought her to where she is and how she can help you find a connection to yourself. Welcome, Tracy. It's so great to see you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
And first of all, just like to chat about how we first met. Because with these podcasts, I'm finding it's people I came across in my life. So I first met you at the show in Stillwater.
Yeah, I remember coming along and being quite blown away by some of the things that you were saying and picking up on, to be honest. Yeah.
So you're local at Stillwater?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I've been there for about 22 years, I think it is.
Wow, it's a beautiful, something very spiritual.
Yeah.
Stillwater's very healing, I found that.
Yeah.
It's the nature, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's funny that you say that because I think I went there to heal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a friend that lives here. She's Michelle. She's called Amanda in my book.
Yes. Yes.
And I've actually been unwell at times and I've gone to stay with her and I've got physically better. Something about Stillwater and the energy.
Wow. I love that.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had a flu or something and stayed with her and got better.
Gosh, I think she would be healing too, to be around.
Very healing because she's very understanding.
Yeah. Compassionate.
Very compassionate, actually. So that's how I first met you. And then you knew my niece, Josephine.
Yes.
And you're into the yoga.
Yes. Haven't done much of that lately.
I'm doing Pilates at the moment.
I'm just looking into that.
Are you?
Yeah.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
I suggest that feeling and connecting with your body, I think, which is really important. And then I sort of kept bumping into you, but then recently it was really interesting because I'm talking a lot about synchronicity and someone had just rescheduled or they couldn't make this particular date.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking about it and then you walked out of your office, wasn't it?
Yep. Straight out to where you were walking. Yeah.
Yeah.
We bumped into one
and we
another.
connected that way.
Yeah. And it was funny because that conversation we had, I loved it and I walked away feeling really good and knowing, gosh, there was something that was so meant to be. It was meant to be. Yeah.
I'm really excited about it. So you're a life coach.
I am.
You're a mentor.
Yes.
You're also a life coach, mentor. You're also a mum.
Yeah.
You're a grandmother.
Yeah.
You're a public speaker.
Yes.
So you have a lot of strings to your bow, basically.
Yeah.
So can you just tell me a little bit about yourself?
So I grew up in Te Maire, which is up by Te Kopuru or Dargaville, about 2 hours north of Auckland. And I've got two sisters and a younger brother. And we grew up on the beach in nature lots. Life was pretty good. And then it got pretty tough. How deep do you want to go? So I think I was about 24 and ready to leave a really toxic relationship I was in. So my kids and I, I had 3. We moved down.
3 children.
Yeah. It was massive when I look back now and I think what we went through and just going, right, I'm moving, I'm getting out of this environment that I'm in. I want to change my life. When I think back, it's like, man, I was courageous.
Very.
Yeah. But it's that synchronicity stuff because a friend rang me and she said, would you ever think of moving down here? And I went, yeah, why not? And then not many weeks later, she said, a house has come up for rent. Do you want to? So, and I said yes and moved. And I probably spent 2 years not really knowing anyone in Stillwater and just really getting to know myself. Spending lots of time in nature. And then I started studying. Well, actually, I read Louise Hay's book.
Oh, did you? I
Yeah.
read that. It's so because I read
Yeah.
on your website,
Yeah.
and it was the starting of my healing journey
Was
as
it?
well. Yes,
Yeah.
way back.
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
So I was still back in Te Koparu back then, and a friend gave it to me. She said, I think you need to read this book, You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. And from the first page, it resonated so much with me. And probably a couple of things resonated in the book mostly, and that was you are responsible for your life.
Yes,
Like you can
yes.
change it. And that kind of made me think, wow, so even though my relationship isn't great, it's actually not his fault that I'm unhappy. I can make myself happy. I can choose me,
Right.
you know?
Yes, yes.
And the other thing was just really creating that self-love, which was something that I really focused on doing. And
How
I,
did you do that? But self, that's a
yeah,
really
good
hard,
question.
because it's
Yeah,
so very well like love yourself. And
yeah,
it's something I've taught my children. I've tried to
yes.
install them. But how did you go about doing that?
Yeah, yeah. So after reading the book, I was at a friend's house,
Yeah.
and for some reason, I was reading the newspaper, which I never did. And I went through all the pages and closed it, and then something in me said, there's something in this newspaper you need to look at. And so I went back through it again, and I found a tiny little ad, which was a workshop that was based on Louise Hay's work after I'd just finished reading the book. And so I rang the woman.
I'm going,
Yeah, I know. I rang the
Literally.
woman, Corinne Walker, and said, I would love to come to your workshop. How much does it cost? And I think back then it was something like $265 or something for a weekend. And I said to her, look, I can't afford it. I'm a single mum. And she said, what can you afford? I know.
Oh, bless
And
her.
I said, I think it was like $5 or $10 a week. And she said, so that's what you'll do. Yeah. So
Oh,
I attended that workshop, and I ended up attending more of her workshops and then assisting in her workshops, and then training as a coach and contracting to her first. But to come back to your question, the self-love was doing those workshops. I learned to really look at myself and see that I had made mistakes, but it was okay. And that's been something I've had to work on for years. But also it was like saying kind things to myself, because I said a lot of mean stuff to myself, really. It was taking care of my body. It was thinking better thoughts. It was surrounding myself, finding people that wanted to see me grow rather than,
yes.
squish
I
me
love
down.
this because there are
Yeah.
people that really want to push you down. I mean, it's a hard life. Life's not
Yeah.
easy. It's
No,
a
it's
challenge.
not. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's those people that support you on your team and those that push you down.
100%, yeah. And I noticed that when I would, like, I left my children's father. We were young when we got together. I was 18 when I had my first daughter. But I jumped into another relationship. And what I started to notice in that relationship was anytime I went to one of these workshops and I'd get back, there would be arguments that would happen. It wouldn't be that he was happy that I was learning and growing.
Right.
And
Didn't want the best for you.
no. So, yeah, separated from him.
It's
And
good you recognise that.
yeah, it
You,
took a
you,
while.
you actually recognise it. It does take a while
Yeah.
because you think, I've probably been gaslit. And
Yeah, totally.
is this
Yeah.
me? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely gaslit. Didn't even know that word back then, but now that I know it, it's
I
like, oh, that was
know.
definitely happening. Yeah. So, yeah, just creating a better relationship with myself, mentally, spiritually, physically, had me feeling better about myself, and then making better decisions. Yeah.
Right. So do you find you go back to that sometimes? Like you can go back to the self-doubt or the negative self-talk and
Yeah,
I know I
100%.
can. I
Yeah,
can.
100%. Yeah, especially when I am. It's kind of connected with external stuff. So maybe I'm going to do a talk, and it's like, oh, what if they don't like it, or or is this good enough, or it's usually connected to external stuff.
I'm going to give you a clue how to overcome that.
Ooh, tell
Because I
me.
talked about how I was a celebrant.
Yes.
And I learned, and it was talk about it in my book actually, and it was a TV producer that taught me.
Yeah.
So at a show, you have lots of people looking at you, and the same when you're as a celebrant. And because you're doing a show, you think they're going to start judging you. They probably are,
Yeah. True.
but you buy into that, and you start questioning yourself and saying they think I'm stupid. They think all this silly. You don't know what they're thinking,
Yeah.
but and it's in your head.
Yes.
And she taught me to go to my heart. Your heart chakra, you know that about that. So when you stand in front of people, rather than going to your mind, if you come, your heart's your best friend.
Oh, yeah.
And if you speak from here, all your nervousness will go.
Yeah, that makes so much sense.
And people can feel it.
True. That makes sense. And quite often I find that when I'm doing things, I quite often put my hand on my heart when I'm talking. So I think that's automatically
It's a chakra.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. I love that tip.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah, isn't it interesting about the external things as well?
Yeah.
So one of the things, I'm just going to put my glasses on for a minute. So you came across, so then I'm just going to ask you, so you've learnt that over the years you like to come to understand about the relationship with yourself. Okay, it's directly linked to ourselves, not the external, even though we think it is. And what we believe becomes our reality. And the more we connect with our authentic self and cultivate a beautiful relationship within, the more our lives can flourish. That's just so special. So can you expand a little bit on that for us?
It's so interesting. My perspective from when I first started writing about that is that the more we love ourselves, the more our life gets better. But then I had to really start questioning that, because some people really love themselves, but their lives aren't getting better.
Okay.
Because life is hard and we go through stuff, you know?
Yes, and we discuss this.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's almost like self-love doesn't mean that life is going to get better. It means that I think it means that we can have love and compassion for ourselves when things are good, but also when they're not.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that is music to my ears.
Yeah. It's like the self-compassion. Because I know that in the past when I was, I made some silly mistakes in my life, and I'd really beat myself up about them.
I can relate to that.
Yeah. And so I changed that to, hey, you were doing the best you could at the time,
Yes.
And yeah, just being more compassionate and kind. If a friend was coming and saying to me that they had made these mistakes, I'd be saying, hey,
don't be so hard on yourself.
Exactly. So I do still think that we are, our everything that happens to us is intrinsically linked to how we feel about ourselves. But I think also my understanding of that has deepened in the sense that there is no separation between myself and nature and others. I feel like we're all connected.
We're very connected.
Yeah. And it's that connection, because one of my old patterns was I'm alone. Like, I'm alone. Yeah. I'm alone in this world. I've got to do it on my own. And I didn't ask for a lot of help when I was going through my tough times. But now that I realise that I'm so connected to everything, nature helps me. My tupuna who have passed away help me. My ancestors.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's I don't feel alone anymore.
When you were talking before you mentioned this about being alone, I saw your grandmother's face come overshadow your face.
Oh, whoa.
She overshadowed you, and she came in really strongly and connected.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and she knows that she was unwell, and you were there for her when she passed. But she also, she was easy to talk to, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was awesome.
And she stays connected. So I just wanted, sorry to interrupt
Thank you. No, I love that.
I just saw her. So especially when you're doing your life coaching work, she just tells you to be brave.
Yeah. Aww.
So you're never alone.
No, never. Yeah. Wow. Thank you.
It's just a thought away. So she just came over you. Wow. So she obviously wants to be.
Yeah.
And I think she also sometimes pushes you as well.
Interesting. It's funny, I've felt her around a lot lately. Little things I see that remind me of her and my dada, and
It might be, I'm not going to tell you to do your work, but what you might find is that when you're helping certain people, that the spirit world could influence you, just give you I find they might just give me just one or two words, or just they say something to me, and if I phrase something that way,
Yeah.
I feel that she really wants to help you.
Yeah, right. And my coaching things have changed lots in the
Yeah.
sense that I'm now before each session asking for them to come in and help.
There we go.
Yeah.
This is why I was just getting clappy hands. Yeah, there we are.
Yeah, so I feel like that is unfolding more and more. Yeah.
Interesting. So I just want to, so how do you think you help other people? Because you've talked about like loving yourself, connecting with yourself. So how do you help other people?
Great question. So when people come to see me, they come with things like work's not going well, or my relationship isn't working, or that sort of stuff. And those are kind of,
Welcome to my world.
yeah. And I kind of see them as the symptoms that,
Yes.
you know, they're almost like the umbrella that's over us. But then when we go deeper within, there is that relationship with self that is disconnected in some way.
Right.
Yeah. And so as I support them to, one, uncover limiting beliefs that they might have.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That is massive.
It is yeah. Look at that. You know, we look at how they might have had unmet needs that they're trying to get met. And for example, you know, they might have an unmet need where they weren't heard when they were younger.
Yes.
Yeah. And so then they go into relationships or work environments where they still feel unheard, and then they question, I don't think this relationship, I don't think this job is for me. But it's like, hang on, let's take a few steps back.
Yes.
And start really listening to what your heart, or, you know, your wise self is saying, rather than the little child that wasn't feeling heard.
You know what? It's really important, because I feel there's this thing about not just loving ourselves, but being loved and accepted.
Yeah.
And that came to me when I went for my walk this morning, about this being loved and accepted.
It's so important, eh?
Yes.
Also, I find that it's easier to accept that when we're giving that to ourselves.
Right.
You know, I think that if we're not loving and accepting ourselves, we're going to put up with stuff that isn't
Right.
good
I understand
for
what
us.
you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't, my relationships were pretty negative prior to nurturing and loving me.
Right.
And being kind to me.
I get a hornet's nest of drama.
Yeah,
Made you quite sad.
I had quite a bit of drama in my earlier years in relationships. Absolutely. Hornet nest would be a great example.
That's what I'm hearing. Like. And taken for granted as well.
Yeah. I wasn't good with boundaries. You know, my childhood was great, and I also had eczema over about 85% of my body. So I felt really just ugly and not good enough, and so getting some attention was wonderful, and it wasn't always good attention,
but it was a wrong attention for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
So you help people like connect to themselves and love and accept themselves, and it can be because they weren't and I think behavior, because I see people sometimes are trying to get all this, it's like getting people pleasing, or everybody to like them. I mean, I'm guilty of that. I want people to like me. I
totally
want
same.
And it's like, and now I'm learning that I don't need their approval.
Yes. That's such a...
I got a wonderful friend that I used to know from school from my younger years, and she's come back into my life, and she's really working, she knows me really well. We both brought up in strict Catholic religions.
Right.
Which is interesting, another dynamic. And she says it to me, why do you need approval? She asks me that. She challenges me. It's like, well, don't ask me that. But she's right.
Yeah, those are good friends.
They are good friends, aren't they?
Yeah, to ask those questions. I've got a couple of friends like that too, that ask the questions that...
Why do you need approval?
Yeah. Or just, you know, I'll talk about a goal I might have, and then a friend of mine might say, I think you're actually holding yourself back from achieving that.
Oh, what a wonderful friend. Yeah. What a great friend.
Yeah, those are the real friends, eh?
I'm getting clappy hands again.
Yeah, oh, nice.
That's fantastic, because you might get other people that might push you down.
Yeah.
So your friendships are really important.
Yeah, totally.
And so when people come and see us, you talk about that connection to yourself, but what about when they are in toxic situations? So some maybe they have got a good connection, but they're in a toxic relationship or work or some other situation. What do you say to them then?
It's a journey, definitely, and you know, we'll talk about communication tools, because sometimes we speak in ways that aren't the most empowering ways to speak,
For ourselves or for others?
toward others, so in relationships.
Right.
Boundaries, there's lots of talk about boundaries and how to set those. It's filling our own tank. And like I say to people, create yourself a beautiful life. And this is in regards to relationships. And when that person comes along, they're an added bonus to your already beautiful life.
Oh, how beautiful.
Yeah, they're not your thing that's going to make life better.
They're not going to fix you.
No, they're not going to fix you. Yeah. And so, it's really about creating those strong foundations around self-worth, self-belief, self-care, self-love, and then it's building life on top of that and finding goals that aren't related to getting needs met. They're more about a purpose, a why that's bigger. Yeah. And that's the juicy stuff, Yeah. But we quite often focus on the my relationship isn't working, or my job's toxic, or I want to lose weight, or I want to, there's all these things, but there's some beautiful goals we have beneath all of that. If we can get beneath it. Yeah.
I love that. Because I really enjoy going to the gym and or the Pilates, and I like that feeling in my body, but there's a lot deeper things in that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And I went to a counselor years ago. He was Christian. He was a Salvation Christian. And he said to me, and I just take my hat off to him, because it goes right out his beliefs, but he said to me, Kerry-Marie, do you realise every time that you talk about your spiritual work, your whole face just lights up?
Oh, that's a big sign, eh? Yes.
And I can feel it in myself. I can feel my energy. And as soon as I get into my spiritual side, everything else just goes out the window.
Yes.
Because as much as I love being a mum and a grandmother like you are, I think you need more than that in life, don't you?
Yeah.
Something that makes you truly happy, gives you purpose.
Yes. And I think part of the why of doing that stuff that makes you purpose is that, you might be inspiring your children and grandchildren, or you might be creating generational wealth, or you might, there's all these things that are bigger.
Your legacy.
Your legacy. Yeah, exactly. So it's finding those that, I feel like we
Treasures.
can have, yeah. And we can have goals, but motivation runs out. But when we have purpose.
A purpose. This man years ago talked to me about, he got over cancer, and he said to me that, he said, what's your purpose in life? What keeps you going? Because I had a bit of a problem with my health.
Yeah.
And I said, my children, my grandchildren. And he said, but what happens if they're not there? What else is there? He kept on digging deeper and deeper, and I realised what my purpose was.
Yeah, nice.
So he said, you can't make your purpose somebody else. You can't make somebody else your reason for being.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I see that with mums who have given their whole life to their children, which I think is one of the most amazing jobs. Well, it's not even a job. It's like a purpose.
A vocation.
Yeah. But I see that when they leave, they lost.
Yes.
Yeah, they haven't got their thing. I felt a bit like that when my children left.
The empty nest syndrome.
Yeah.
So the purpose at that time could be to be a mum, but then you need something searching beyond that.
Yeah.
So how would you help someone if been a mum, or maybe they can't have children and they feel empty? So what would you suggest to them?
We'd look at their values. We'd look at what they really value, and what you just said before about that priest, I think it was, saying that you lit up.
He was a minister.
Lit up.
Yes.
Lit up. I look for that in people when we're talking to
see their eyes, can't you?
Yeah. And they'll talk about some things and they'll be quite deflated or just normal, but then they'll talk about things that light them up, and then we'll explore that more.
And the whole body changes, and the aura comes up, and their eyes sparkle, and you've hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
This is what this podcast is all about. It's about finding a spiritual truth and your purpose. So
nice.
Yeah. So what makes their heart sing? Would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. And
it might take a while to find that.
Definitely, and it might not be some massive big grand thing either. No. So some people are looking for this big thing that's going to change everything, but sometimes it's actually, they Their purpose is being connected to the land and growing vegetables and giving those to their whānau and friends. And
I can't believe you said that.
Why?
Because as you were, before you came in, I saw someone with a big rake. And I thought there was someone around you that used to love the garden. And I saw a big rake and a big broom.
Oh, wow.
Working outside talking about the purpose, and that's what did it for them. It feels like a man.
Yeah.
You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was his purpose.
Wow, yes. And so it is. It's like finding, it's not comparing it to other people's purposes. It's connecting it to what you love and what lights you up. Yeah.
Well, isn't comparisons really disempowering though?
Yes. Oh, yeah. My daughter said that to me one day when she was a teenager. Yeah, you'll never feel good if you're comparing, Mum.
Yeah, it could be art or it could be just baking or whatever it is.
Exactly. It's what puts you in your flow.
Mother Teresa once said, not many people do great things in this life, but they can do small things greatly.
Yeah, I've heard that. I love it. Yeah, that's it.
And the spirit world often say to me, they'll say to me, it's in all the little things. They say that the happiness, I'm just going really tingly. They say happiness in all the little things. And I think, don't you think that's by being present?
100%. Yeah. And I agree. It's the little things. It's the little moments. And I think that's why I love nature so much, because when I'm out there, it's like noticing, the tui on the tree singing, or, there are certain times of the season where we notice all the kōtari, the kingfisher, come around this pond that develops in winter, and they're always there feeding their family, and it's just noticing those little things that bring you so much joy.
Absolutely. We must be very much in tune because I was just going to go to your nature.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I notice that when I go on the beach that all my stress melt. It's really weird. It comes from here down into there, down my whole body, and it goes away into the sand.
Yes.
It's like the sand is taking it away from me.
Yeah. I so relate. We walk morning and night. Take our dog for a walk morning and night, and I notice at night when we start to walk, I'm quite sort of, mind's busy, everything's happening, and then when I start to walk home, I start yawning, and it's like my whole body has just let go. Yeah, and I'm in that kind of calm, relaxed state. Yeah,
because it's therapeutic, isn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely. It's
and
medicine.
what would you call nature?
Nature is medicine.
I love it. Nature's medicine. And that's what I said at the beginning of the podcast, and I went to Stillwater and stayed there. I was surrounded by trees.
Yeah.
And I felt it was the trees.
Yes.
They're so healing.
Oh, they are, yeah. And when you look at nature, it's like everything works in unison, It's all connected. It's like this ecosystem that everything supports one another. And I think for us as humans, we can learn so much by how nature shows us all we need to do. We need to be in tune, supported and supporting, being our natural self,
Our natural self.
Yeah. Nature is just such a great teacher. The roots are deep, so that's your foundations, but you reach up high and you're connected to Ranginui, the sky, there's so much in it that we can learn from.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And we should treat nature better, shouldn't we?
Yeah. Well,
nature's hurting in some ways.
Oh, yeah. And I feel like it's nature, Papatuānuku, the planet, is a reflection of us. So when you look at the world and there's eruptions and there's war, there's all this stuff going on, I feel like that's a reflection of us. We have wars within us, we have outbursts, we need support, we need to stop putting things into our body that are bad. And
I makes you feel emotional. I'm feeling really like I want to cry. I do.
Yeah, we need to stop abusing our bodies.
Yeah.
And I think it's parallel. Like when we learn to look after the planet better, we learn to look after ourselves better. When we learn to look after and respect ourselves, we want to look after the planet better. There's this beautiful connection between us that we can learn from.
And that's a lovely friend of mine that is really honest with me. She's really connected to nature and flowers and plants. And really...
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. And even if you're not getting out, if you're working all day and you're not getting out, have a plant in your office or your house and nurture it.
Yeah.
Like nurture it, and
She's teaching me that.
Is she?
Yeah, she is. And
yeah.
really interesting, like years ago I was a single mum, like I was a single, I had three children. And I was in concrete all the time. So I was went from home to work, it was concrete. That's how I felt I was living in concrete. I didn't even know something was missing. And I went up to, she was a conference place in Silverdale.
Yeah.
And I got out of the car, it's so weird. And it's this massive tree.
Oh.
And I couldn't, it was a magnet. And I ran over and I got this biggest hug.
Oh.
And I've never been a tree hugger.
Yeah.
But I just thought, now I know it. And I just hugged it. It was like I was drinking it in.
Yeah.
It was so important.
Yeah. See, that's tuned in, eh? That's tuned into nature, and yeah, you
I didn't know I
knew
was
you needed
missing
that.
that. I really.
No.
So talking about the nature, I want to go out to the Māori culture because you are obviously part Māori. And how have you embraced that in your spirituality and your journey?
Oh, it's deepened it so much more. So I started learning te reo Māori. Well, I did a little bit at school, but I went back to it. I think it was 2018, and so Andy and I, my husband, we both decided to do a 6-week course at the Silverdale Marae, and so straight away, as we walked out the front door to head to our first class, there were 3 kiriru, wood pigeons, sitting on the tree outside our house, and I said to Andy, "That's our tupuna, reminding us that we're on the right track."
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah, so we went there, and that first day at night of the class, I just wanted to cry. I feel emotional now, like just the connection. Yeah,
Powerful.
yeah. I've got to get myself together.
It's okay to be emotional on a podcast.
Yeah, true.
Because actually, I find that sometimes when I do my readings, I get emotional. It just shows how authentic you're being, and people can relate to that.
Yes, so true. So so we did the 6-week course together, and then when that finished, I said to Andy, "Do you want to carry on?" He said, "I can't at the moment with work." And I said, "I'm doing it.
Good for you.
I'm on the waka, I'm going to continue." So yeah, that was 2018, and I've been in class every year since, and on marae, and just learning more and more about the tikanga, like the customs and everything, but also about my whānau from, years gone by, and what they went through, and what we're reclaiming, and the wisdom. Yeah, the wisdom that they had prior to colonisation, which they still have, and growing up, it was like there was the narrative around Māori and many Indigenous cultures is that, I would hear things like dole bludgers.
Yes.
There was really negative stories about them, and you didn't really get to see the wisdom and the knowledge and what they were achieving. And so going on to the marae and seeing all these passionate people, and then going to other wānanga events where there were Māori just succeeding on such big levels with these goals that were not just about themselves but about the community, the wider community. Just it blew me away, and it's helped me with my connection to nature and to my tupuna, my ancestors. It's just been an incredible journey that I'm so proud to be on, and speaking to my little mokopuna, my grandchildren, and them knowing words too, and it's just so beautiful. It's.
And don't you think it goes for any culture?
100%.
Yeah, to go back to
where
it's got that history. That's really important.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I was listening to a podcast the other day where Donna Curridge was being interviewed. She's a rongoa Māori healer, and she was saying everyone is Indigenous, everyone, because we all come from somewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah, and she said, so you might not be where you came from, but you can learn from the Indigenous people around you, and that will connect you more to
and it's so deep
within you. Yeah,
really interesting. When I was trained to be a celebrant, one of the things we talked about was where we came from, and we watched it, and people get quite often get drawn back to where they've come from.
Yeah.
And at the time, my daughter was living with me, and her father's full-blooded Dutch, full Dutch.
Right.
And she'd been to Amsterdam.
Yeah.
And her partner, who's now her husband, also had Dutch background.
Wow.
And I walked into work and she turned around to me and said, Mum, I'm going to go live in Holland.
Oh, did she?
I just thought, and I mean, it was okay.
Yeah.
Because it was a synchronicity. I just learnt about this. And I said to her, that's great if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
I think it's important to you. So I got it.
Yeah.
And she just went there and she felt she'd come home because I must have an English connection because whenever I go to England,
you feel it.
I'll come home. I just thought, I've come home. This is where I'm meant to be. Sort of. I feel that. And I've been to England a lot. Something about that place.
Yeah. I love that you learnt that little thing prior to your daughter saying that, just to help
I thought
you.
if she'd said it to me, it would have been like, but I actually was okay with it.
Yeah.
So I think this is a real takeaway for people. They connect to where they've come. We're all Indigenous.
Yeah.
Go back to your
100%.
roots.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it must be hard for people that don't know where they come from.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that don't know who their family are.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's the thing about feel it. Feel. If you don't know, notice where you feel connected. And that could be, and it might be your ancestral land, or it might be a tree that you see when you get out of the car.
Yes.
You know, like your tūranga waiwai, your standing place.
Yes.
I don't think it has to be ancestral land. I think at the end of the day, we're all connected. We're all connected to, Papatuānuku, the earth. So notice where you feel at home and where you feel grounded. Yeah.
That's what I love. The beach is me. I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Sounds good as well.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
All right. So, just one more thing we're going to talk about, I think, is that what are your spiritual truths?
That's a really interesting question. What are my spiritual truths?
Because it is a big question, isn't it?
Yeah, it's huge.
And actually, I haven't really found out what my spiritual truths are since I've been doing these podcasts.
Yeah.
And the person that's found it is my son, Andre, because he's helping with the podcast.
Yeah,
so he goes, I think the first one was like, my first spiritual truth. And the second my spiritual truth was about mediumship. Finding out about mediumship. My second spiritual truth was understanding the difference between psychic and mediumship.
Yeah. Right.
So it sort of unfolded.
Yeah. I feel like
we don't even know it. It's innate.
Yeah.
It's a bit like the tree for me or the land.
Yeah. I think one of my spiritual truths is that, and I've said it during this podcast, is that nature is medicine for me. That's a spiritual truth for me. It's not something that I just know that that's the case. Another spiritual truth for me would be that the work I'm doing, I'm not doing alone. Like, I'm being supported, and
that's great. And just before you leave, I was going to ask you, what sort of exercises could you give them to take away to support people?
Yeah, great question. So figure out what your negative beliefs are. And that's a biggie, but if you could go back and do a timeline of your life, okay? Go from as young as possible and just think about some of the key experiences you had growing up. And so, for example, one of mine was I used to have asthma as well as eczema, and I remember rushed to the hospital in the middle of the night, and my mum was there when I went to sleep, but when I woke up, she had gone, because she had other kids she had to be home to, so understandable, but I felt very alone in that moment. And I feel like my belief of being alone was formulated in that moment,
Wow.
No one was there with me. I felt alone and scared. And I noticed over the years that there were times when I'd be in situations and I'd feel that same feeling. But I became aware of, no, this isn't true. This is the little girl in me that felt this.
Interesting?
Yeah. So then I would put my hand on my heart, reassure her, it's okay, and continue on, And so, look at those key events. Notice what you believe. So you might say, look at the event and then think about a statement that relates to that, like, I'm alone, or I'm scared, or
no one loves me.
No one loves me. Yeah, exactly. And then when you know those, you can look at life now and notice when they're re-triggered. you know, and it's often when we're in situations and we feel like we're like, why am I feeling this way? Why am I reacting this way? That's when the little you has jumped in the driver's seat and she's driving, you know, making your choices. And so what I say to people is notice your beliefs. When you notice them, acknowledge them. Because we quite often push things down. So acknowledge them, feel them. What does it feel like to feel alone in your body? You know, what does feeling alone feel like in your body? Take some slow, deep breaths to reconnect to the present moment and then reassure yourself. You're okay. I've got you. I'm here with you. And so when you continually do that, when these old beliefs show up, you start to respond rather than react in those situations.
Respond rather than react. Yeah, I like that. Because it's a natural reaction sometimes, a trigger.
It is. Yeah, a trigger. Exactly. Yeah. And so that would be one thing I'd say. Notice how you talk to yourself. Like, are you encouraging yourself or are you being really hard on yourself? Get in nature.
Have you heard about switch think?
About what, sorry?
Switch think.
No.
Yeah, so a life coach taught me that. And so you could say, oh, I'm stupid, for instance. And then she said to me, why are you stupid? I'm stupid because I make mistakes.
Yeah, right.
And then you switch that around and just say, I'm learning how to do something new.
Yes.
Or I'm really good at this. I just need to know a bit more about it. Or just turn, it's called switch think.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Switch think. So whatever you're thinking about yourself, or I'm alone, it's like, I'm loved and supported.
Yeah.
Here on heaven and on earth.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah. And I think also remembering to acknowledge those feelings though, because I think one thing I thought about with affirmations is that we can say them, but we haven't actually acknowledged what's going on within us.
Right.
And so then that comes up at different times. It builds up and comes up. So I really encourage my clients to acknowledge how you're feeling. Don't try and fix it all before you actually see what's happening.
It's so important.
Yeah.
That's because it's a process.
Exactly.
Because I've learned a lot about grief, and it's the most constant of all companions, and if not dealt with, it come up at some point in your life.
Wow.
And I really believe in the process and going through the emotions and feeling it.
Yeah.
So you can heal from it.
Yes, I so agree. Yeah, beautiful.
That's so important, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're a writer, journal. I think journaling is amazing for getting stuff out of your head and to understand it more. If you're not someone who likes to journal, maybe you record it or you just go outside and, you know, something else that I've realised is swimming in the ocean.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, or getting into nature is a way that we can release stuff. Just give it back.
So
you know?
right. You get rid of it all.
Yeah.
And so when people have these negative thoughts in their body, or they have these thoughts and they can feel it in their body, feel it on the side, and so you teach them to feel it and then let it go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, acknowledge, feel, breathe, and then say something else, do something. And I learnt that from. There was one day, my old coach Corinne phoned me, and I said, "Oh look, the kids are going crazy. I need to ring you back." And she rang me back later, or I rang her back later, and she said, "Did you get that? You sounded like you were pretty angry or something like that. Did you get rid of that anger?" And I went, "No, I feel fine now." And she went, No, it's still in you. Yeah, it's still in you. What will you do to get rid of that anger? I was like, oh, wow, okay. And so we used to have a rubber bat and we'd like bash it on the bed just to do something physical to get it out. And I remember being really upset one time, and Harry, he knocked on the door. He was really young. And he goes, "Do you want this?"
I kept on picking up on your son. He's very much like you.
So I've got one son, Justice, and then two stepsons, Harry and Joe. Yeah.
I just get one son.
Yeah, I've got a son. Yeah.
I just kept on picking. He's just so much like you, isn't he? He's so much like you. Yeah.
Yeah, we have good laughs together.
I almost said that. So I love this about the anger because I learned this also as a celebrant as well, and that anger isn't necessarily a terrible thing.
No.
And it's actually to accept it and to actually let it go, release it.
Yes.
Because so people suppress it, I feel.
Yeah. And I think some of that comes from when you're angry when you're little, it's bad. Stop being naughty.
Yes.
You know, so it's labelled like a bad emotion.
Yes.
And so we try to shove it down. But actually anger can be really powerful when it shows us what we don't stand for. when, we can become activists about something because it brings up that
Wow.
anger. Like, I think all emotions have their place. Yeah.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
I could talk to you for hours.
I love conversation
Yeah,
too.
what I love about it is that because there's some people that do what you sort of do, and they can be like gurus and they can talk down to you, but you've been like real and honest, and I think that people need to be real and honest,
Yeah.
and because life isn't perfect,
No, it's not.
and it's having the tools to deal with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's admitting that I don't always have my life together. It's being real. Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. I've just got
Yeah.
so I've got my messages from spirit cards,
Yeah.
and I'm going to read you this. I'm
Okay.
gonna, and so number 22. So I don't know if 22 is important for you.
I'm wondering if it's somewhere in my
Numerology.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Because it feels it should be. And so I've got no need to prove who you are. You've done so well. You've come so far. And this is coming from your grandmother. Yeah.
Wow.
Time to pat yourself on the back. Sometimes you get lost, but you get back on track.
Yeah, that's me.
I love it. I love the human side of you.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's so great. People can relate to you.
Yeah.
I gently direct you. So gently. I love that. And she loved animals, didn't she?
Yeah.
She loved them. And she says, I'm always here to fully protect you. There's nothing to fear.
Oh, I love that.
And she just said, you'll be fine, my baby.
Oh, thank you.
And then she finishes off by saying, look at what you've done. Enjoy what you have. There is more to come.
Oh, yay.
That's exciting.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, because we've got some goals. So I like that reminder that there's more to come.
Yeah, that's so special. And then I'm going to give you these. You said before you're going to get some.
Oh.
So Spirit would talk to me and I'd wake up and I always had like angel cards, oracle cards. I thought, I'm going to have a message from Spirit cards. So there's instructions on how to use them. So you can have that as a gift.
Thank you so much. This is so what I need right now with deepening into my spirituality and connecting with my tupuna. So thank you so much.
And also, I just think you'd be a great source for people and a resource that people could get to help them, like discover who they are, find their own healing and their purpose. And so how can people get hold of you, Tracy?
Yeah, so they can go on my website, blossom.net.nz. I'm on social media. Blossom.
And you do podcasts as well?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, the Soulful Lounge is my podcast.
I love the name, Soulful Lounge.
Yeah. I do a podcast and I'm around.
You're around. And what's Blossom stand for?
Blossom it's funny because when I first named it that, people would say, are you a florist?
Oh, how gorgeous.
And I'd go, no, I help people to blossom.
That's what I was thinking. That's so cool.
Yeah, so, I
And that's what we're talking about. If you find your purpose, you blossom.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, Tracy. We'll see you around.
Thank you. Okay.
I found Tracy's podcast today truly enlightening, powerful, and healing. She discussed the journey of her life, where she came from, and what brought her to where she is today. How she has blossomed and how she can encourage others to blossom as they connect to themselves so they can be truly whole. She also discussed that one of her spiritual truths is that nature is her medicine. I also find this as well. And by listening to this podcast, you may take away some exercises that she gave as well, something you could try to do or maybe get support with. Tracy also discussed the connection with her ancestors, spirituality, and also the Māori culture, and that we are all Indigenous. We've all come from somewhere, and that we're all special. To help this podcast, please can you like, follow, and subscribe. Blessings and love, Kerry-Marie.